Hey guys, Jordan with TYT Politics, and as Bernie Sanders once said, release your transcripts. Well, excerpts of Hillary Clinton's speeches to banks like Goldman Sachs, banks like Deutsche Bank, and several other outlets that she has given paid speeches to in the last few years before she ran for president have leaked. WikiLeaks hacked the email of John Podesta, who is Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman. John Podesta used to be the chief of staff to Bill Clinton. John Podesta is the founder of the Center for American Progress, which is essentially, by name, a progressive group, but in reality, a neoliberal think tank. And John Podesta is currently her campaign chairman. So all these emails come from WikiLeaks hacking John Podesta's email. I'm essentially going to go through my tweets because I've been tweeting up like tweeting out of fire of these tweets, of these email leaks. Any objective person would say this is extremely damning to Hillary Clinton. I don't trust that the mainstream media will cover it accurately, but you will get it accurately from me. I will also try to give her the benefit of the doubt if she deserves any in some areas, to be fair. Now, I'll start with what I think is the most damaging. Well, there's a lot of damaging. But what I think is one of the more damaging things. Hillary Clinton says you need a public and private position in politics. Again, Hillary Clinton said you need a public and private position in politics. I'm going to read you the quote. She is talking to the National Multi-Housing Council in 2013. So this isn't even talking to the banks. She says, you just have to sort of figure out how, getting back to that word balance, how to balance the public and the private efforts, how to balance the public and the private efforts that are necessary to be successful politically. And that's not just a comment about today. That, I think, has probably been true for all of our history. And if you saw the Spielberg movie, Lincoln, at how he was maneuvering and working to get the 13th Amendment passed, and he called one of my favorite predecessors, Secretary Seward, no idea who that was, who had been the governor and senator from New York, who ran against Lincoln for president, and he told Seward, I need your help to get this done. And Seward called some of his lobbyist friends who knew how to make a deal. And they just kept going at it. I mean, politics is like sausage being made. It is unsavory and has always been that way, but we usually end up where we need to be. But if everybody's watching, all of the backroom discussions and the deals, then the people get a little nervous, to say the least. So you need both a public and a private position. I think that's the most damaging because that essentially shows that Hillary Clinton is a complete and utter shill. I don't mean to be condescending. I don't mean to just foam at the mouth and give you my opinion. But when you're essentially telling behind closed doors that you have one position to the public and one position in private, you are saying you're a liar. You are saying nothing you actually tell the public is exactly how you mean it or what you'll actually do. It's just you need a public position, but in private, we'll talk reality. We'll talk how things really are. I think what's really interesting about this is she's quoting Seward. I don't know my Lincoln history that well to know who he is, who had been the governor and senator from New York. And she's essentially sharing that as if it's a good thing. And Seward called some of his lobbyist friends who knew how to make a deal. So she's essentially crediting the former New York governor and senator for sausage making behind closed doors with his lobbyist friends. So that's Hillary Clinton's worldview. You need a public and private position. On to the next. 2013 speech to Goldman Sachs Hillary says there's, quote, misunderstanding and, quote, politicizing when it comes to banks' role in the economic crash. And if I'm talking slow or it looks like I'm upset, it's because I'm very troubled, to say the least. I mean, this is the kind of stuff this is who this person is, but when you read this stuff, it's jarring. It really is. Quote, this was to Goldman Sachs in 2013. That was one of the reasons that I started traveling in February of 2009, so people could, literally yell at me for the United States and our banking system, causing this everywhere. Now, that's a oversimplification, we know, but it was the conventional wisdom. The conventional wisdom. And I think that there's a lot that could have been avoided in terms of both misunderstanding and really politicizing what happened with greater transparency, with greater openness on all sides. What happened? How did it happen? How do we prevent it from happening? You guys help us figure it out, and let's make sure that we do it right this time. Hillary Clinton is saying to Goldman Sachs, who pretty much is one of the leading banks that took this economy down, quote, you guys help us figure it out, and let's make sure that we do it right this time. And I think that everybody was desperately trying to fend off the worst effects institutionally, governmentally, and there just wasn't that opportunity to try to sort this out. And that came later. Essentially, this is Hillary Clinton, sorry to be crude, giving a blowjob to Goldman Sachs bankers behind closed doors. This is Hillary Clinton suggesting that there's just misunderstanding and politicizing of the bank's role in taking our economy down. There's more from Goldman Sachs later, but that's one of the cherries on top, I would say. And I usually don't tell you to do this while I'm talking, but please share this video. I want to make sure as many people are informed what are in these leaks. Again, if you just joined me, WikiLeaks has hacked into John Podesta, who is Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman's email. One of those emails contained excerpts of her Wall Street speeches and speeches to other people that her literary agency flagged to them as potentially being troubling. So when Hillary Clinton said, well, I'll release them when, we get the same standard, what she was really saying is, oh my God, I can't let anybody see this shit. If she was running against anybody else, this would make her have to drop out of the race right now. This is so damning. And let me keep going. And by the way, WikiLeaks released this, so you could go to wikileaks.org. They have searchable databases, so if you enter search terms, it's not the easiest thing to sort through, but I'm going to post a link to as many of these as I can once I'm done with this. Aaron, she won't win because of people like you. Yes, I'm just an evil Bernie bro who's just taking her down. It's kind of inconvenient, this whole journalism thing, Next up, Hillary Clinton apparently thinks that the answer to Wall Street's douchebaggery, they should fix it themselves. Quote, remember what Teddy Roosevelt did. Yes, he took on what he saw as the excesses in the economy, but he also stood against the excesses in politics. He didn't want to unleash a lot of nationalistic, populistic reaction. He wanted to try to figure out how to get back into that balance that has served America so well over our entire nationhood. Today, there's more that can and should be done that really has to come from the industry itself, and how we can strengthen our economy, create more jobs at a time where that's increasingly challenging. To get back to Teddy Roosevelt's square deal. And I really believe that our country and all of you are up to that job. This is comments to Deutsche Bank, another terrific financial institution. She's essentially saying, quote, today, there's more that can be done and should be done that really has to come from the industry itself. And I really believe that our country and all of you, speaking to Deutsche Bank, are up to that job. Yeah. I've definitely heard this kind of talk in her stump speeches. I've heard her talk about this in public as well as private. So, no bombshell. Why are you in the car? Get this guy to an office studio? Because I'm on a road trip, brother. Exposing the disappearing middle class. Go to TYT Politics, watch our videos. We've been doing a disappearing middle class tour. Onward. In a speech to Goldman Sachs, Hillary Clinton says running for office in U.S. takes, quote, a lot of money, and candidates have to go out and raise it. This might be one of the less shocking ones, but I think it's important anyway to read it to you. Speech to Goldman Sachs, 2013. Secondly, running for office in our country takes a lot of money, and candidates have to go out and raise it. New York is probably the leading site for contributions for fundraising for candidates on both sides of the aisle. And it's also our economic center. And there's a lot of people here who should ask some tough questions before handing over campaign contributions to people who are really playing chicken with our whole economy. So she's essentially acknowledging I need to come and speak to folks like you to essentially have any chance of winning. I don't need ideas. I just need your money. Vincent, I thought she said cut it out. Yeah, she must have said cut it out right after this speech. All right, more goodies. And if you have questions, I'll try to read them as much as I can. 2013 Goldman Sachs speech, Hillary Clinton on regulation. People that know industry better than anybody are the people who work in the industry. Yeah, just let the people in the industry regulate themselves. Quote, I mean, it's still happening, as you know. People are looking back and trying to, get compensation for bad mortgages and all the rest of it in some of the agreements that are being reached. There's nothing magic about regulations. Too much is bad. Too little is bad. How do you get the golden key? How do we figure out what works? And the people that know the industry better than anybody are the people who work in the industry. And I think there has to be a recognition that, there's so much at stake now. I mean, the business has changed so much and decisions are made so quickly. In nanoseconds, basically. We spend trillions of dollars to travel around the world. But it's in everybody's interest that we have a better framework. And not just for the United States, but for the entire world in which to operate and trade. This is Hillary Clinton in 2013 essentially saying the industries that know themselves best as far as regulation are the people in that industry. And guys, I apologize if it's dark. I am in the car. I didn't want to go in the hotel when this broke. I was on a roll tweeting it out. So I hope you accept a dark video with bright message and content. Oh, it gets better, folks. It gets better. 2013 speech to Xerox. Hillary Clinton says, we need two sensible, moderate, pragmatic parties. Quote, we need two parties. Two sensible, moderate, pragmatic parties. Yeah. She's the progressive who's going to get things done, right? She's a progressive who gets things done. Two sensible, moderate, pragmatic parties. So essentially, she just wants one political party. That's how I read that. Let's keep going. 2013 conversation with Goldman Sachs CEO, Lloyd Blankfein. Bernie Sanders famously on the Senate floor once ripped Lloyd Blankfein. Here's my Bernie Sanders speech. And you got Mr. Blankfein coming down here, a man whose company destroyed this economy. He's telling us we gotta cut Social Security. That's my Lloyd Blankfein and Bernie Sanders. Lloyd Blankfein in a back and forth with him and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton says you go to Washington, right? But, part of the problem with the political situation is that there's such a bias against people who have led successful and or complicated lives. The divestment of assets, the stripping of all kinds of positions, the sale of stocks. It just becomes very onerous and unnecessary. No, you didn't mishear me. That was not Mitt Romney who said that. That was Hillary Clinton. Let me read it one more time for you. In a back and forth with CEO of Lloyd Blankfein, she says, part of the problem with the political situation, too, is that there's such a bias against people who have led successful and or complicated lives. The divestment of assets, the stripping of all kinds of positions, the sale of stocks. It just becomes very onerous and unnecessary. So, see, this is what Hillary Clinton said in her private position, not her public position. You know, if you read my first tweet, she says you got to have public, you have a public position and a private position. So this was said to Goldman. This is the private position. Later on, she went out and said she's the progressive who gets things done. Carla, give us something really good. Drop it like it's hot. Carla, I'm doing my best. Work with me here. I keep on going. This, I believe, is very, very good, Carla. Hillary Clinton's campaign talks about whether she should come out against Keystone after the president vetoes it. But she could express criticism through a spokesperson. So this isn't Hillary Clinton, this is her campaign. So her campaign manager, Robbie Mook, writes, the enviros, meaning the environmental activists, I guess, they are enviros, may latch onto this going forward. Have we discussed when she will come out against Keystone? After POTUS vetoes? POTUS, President of the United States. So they're basically angling for her to appear like she's against the Keystone Pipeline right after the president vetoes it. In response to Robbie Mook, Jake Sullivan, who is, I believe, a foreign policy advisor of hers, writes, yeah, but if we want to have her express skepticism, we could do so through a spokesperson answer to question using our Q&A. So basically what they're doing now, let's drop little hints that she's against it before President Obama comes out vetoing it. That way, after he vetoes it, I was against it the whole time. I was just waiting for the president to say so. Political calculation 101, folks. She wasn't against the Keystone Pipeline. You know what she was against? Being on the wrong side of the issue politically. All right, Carly, that's a good one. I'm happy you're happy. But there's more. By the way, that one came from Emma Vigeland, credit where credit is due. She spotted that first. I retweeted her on that. Emma is furiously looking at the WikiLeaks in the hotel as we speak. Another one, Hillary Clinton campaign email shows them angling to try and make it look like she had a role in Barack Obama denying the Keystone Pipeline. I mean, you really can't make this shit up, folks. You just can't make it up. The building trades, they're referring to trade unions, are flagging for me that they hear the Obama administration will deny Keystone on Monday. I just wanted to try to politically get ahead of this and where we are on the issue if this in fact happens. The trades are also hearing that Hillary will put out a statement stating that she encouraged Obama to take this position. Politically, with the building trades, this would be a very dangerous posture. Just curious what your thoughts will be if the situation goes this way on Monday. So essentially you have Hillary Clinton's people saying that Hillary's going to come out and say, I told Obama to tell those Keystone people to cut it out, and he listened to me. I mean, listen, I think Donald Trump's awful. I think he would be a terror to society. But this woman's god awful too. She's everything wrong with this country. She is everything wrong with this country. And I haven't been inside yet, so I'm sure they're on TV right now, Hillary's campaign, urging us to relaunch the Cold War and blaming Putin for all this. And I'm sure CNN's helping her with that narrative. Onward, more. Podesta, the emails show Hillary Clinton's campaign manager acknowledging that Bill Clinton got $1 million from a Canadian shareholder in Keystone while the Keystone Pipeline was debated. Let me read it. This is, again, from her campaign manager. And more than $1 million in payments to Mr. Clinton by a Canadian bank and major shareholder in the Keystone XL oil pipeline around the time the project was being debated in the State Department. So Hillary's campaign knows that Billy Boy over there, Bubba, has been making a lot of money while she was Secretary of State. And he's making money from a lot of big oil people who want that pipeline built. Can't make it up, folks. Can't make it up. Onward we go. This one actually is probably, I said in the beginning that the thing, her saying that she has a public position and a private position. I said that was the worst thing. I stand corrected. This is the worst thing. Hillary Clinton tells Goldman Sachs she is, quote, far removed from the struggles of the middle class. That's political poison, saying that. It's one thing to say, yes, my husband and I are doing very well, but to put those words out there, this is House of Cards. Somebody just said, is this House of Cards? Let me read the full quote to you. It is loading, folks. And I'm getting a lot of wows. I agree. Wow is right. And you know what's even more wow? I got to tell you, I'm not defending Hillary Clinton, but her campaign. If people thought Donald Trump's campaign is the stupidest campaign in the history of America, Hillary Clinton's campaign has them beat. To put any of this stuff in writing is political stupidity that I've never even seen. To have this stuff in writing is absolute political suicide, political malpractice. It doesn't make it it's not defensible, but her campaign are a bunch of idiots, and frankly, they're arrogant. To think that they could put this in writing and that it would never leak, or some pissed off staffer could leak it, it's insane. The full quote. And I am not taking a position on any policy, but I do think there is a growing sense of anxiety and even anger in the country over the feeling that the game is rigged. And I never had that feeling when I was growing up. Never. I mean, were there really rich people? Of course there were. My father loved to complain about big business and big government. But we had a solid middle class upbringing. We had good public schools. We had accessible health care. We had our little, one family house that, he saved up his money. Didn't believe in mortgages. So I lived that. And now, obviously, I'm kind of far removed because the life I've lived and the economic, fortunes that my husband and I now enjoy. But I haven't forgotten it. So in fairness to her, she said, I haven't forgotten it. She's talking about I haven't forgotten my upbringing. But she's basically saying I'm pretty much removed from today's middle class struggle. Yeah, you're pretty much removed because you've been for every fucking trade deal. Your husband signed NAFTA. You guys put more African Americans in prison than any president. She wasn't the president, but she was cheerleading. Your husband, with you cheerleading, repealed Glass-Steagall, deregulated derivatives. No wonder the middle class might be struggling. Shock, huh? And for those of you who are asking me, I will make a comment about Bernie Sanders soon at the end of this. Onward. This one is going to hurt her, and hurt her a lot. Because nobody with a brain believes she's actually against the TPP. This, what I'm about to read, proves she's not against the TPP. I think we have to have a concerted plan to increase trade already under the current circumstances. That Inter-American Development Bank figure is pretty surprising. I don't know what the hell she's talking about there. There is so much more we could do. There is a lot of low-hanging fruit, but business on both sides have to make it a priority. And it's not for government to do, but government can either make it easy or make it hard. And we have to resist protectionism, other kinds of barriers to market access and to trade. And I would like to see this get much more attention and be not just a policy for a year under President X or President Y, but a consistent one. Hillary Clinton is advocating for free and unfettered trade. She is advocating against protectionism, which, if you're not familiar, protectionism means protecting American workers. It means not having their jobs offshore to China and Mexico. Hillary Clinton is saying there is a low-hanging fruit, but business on both sides have to make it a priority. And it's not for government to do, but for government can either make it easy or make it hard. And we have to resist, quote, protectionism, other kinds of barriers to market access and to trade. And I would like to see this get much more attention and not just policy for a year under President X or President Y. Jessica, you asked me, why is TYT not even talking about the leaks? In their defense, the Wiki leaks were released as they went on air. I sent this to them. But, in fairness, they didn't have time to look through this. I didn't just go on this Facebook Live without reading through these first. It would be irresponsible of them to talk about this without having read it. Jenk said he's actually going to do a live video on it, so I would look out for that. But in the meantime, I think I'm fairly good at what I'm doing. So just have to point out the Young Turks is going to cover it. So, if you thought Hillary Clinton was against the gold standard, against the TPP, it seems that she's pretty much for every fucking trade deal you could think. Quote, protectionism, other kinds of barriers to market access. Market access. Yeah, that's progressive talk. More. Oh, that's it for now. Those are the tweets I was able to get on Twitter and get up for you guys. I wanted to at least give you some. I'm going to go through more of it tonight. But, honestly, here's what I think. I think that what I think stands out about this, honestly, I don't even think this is the bomb WikiLeaks was talking about. And that's scary for her. To me, a telltale sign that this is not the bomb that WikiLeaks is talking about. WikiLeaks just tweeted this out. Just tweeted it out. Like, chairman of Clinton's campaign and, leaks. I think if WikiLeaks had a smoking gun that also might be criminal or have some basis in very blurring of the lines between what's legal and what's not, I think you'd get a lot more than a tweet. I think they'd be all over. I think Julian Assange probably would have been on a live stream by now, and maybe he is while I'm live streaming this. I don't know. So it doesn't surprise me if this is not the biggest thing they have on her. And frankly, if she wasn't running against Donald Trump, this would be the end of her campaign. Hillary Hillbots and the Democratic establishment will say this is making a molehill into a mountain. I mean, any objective person reading this will say Hillary Clinton is a complete shill who essentially says one thing behind closed doors, says another thing to the public. And frankly, I think the most troubling part about all this, she is essentially talking like Mitt Romney. She is talking like Mitt Romney. Let's put aside the fact that she is two-faced, that she says one thing in private and one thing in public. That's a lot of politicians. So I'm going to give Hillary Clinton the benefit of the doubt. She's not the first politician in humanity or American history to say one thing in private and one thing in public. The thing that bothers me the most about this is every single policy that she has embraced during the Democratic primary and now the general election, what she said in private goes against every single one of those policies. Every single one. There's not one thing that I have read to you that aligns with the policy she says she is going to try and execute. None of these are anywhere near Bernie Sanders. It's on a different planet.